Welcome to In the Kitchen with WorkWell. I am Karen Joseph Sharfis, and I'm here with my partner Fiona Adams from Beautifully Fed. This program, In the Kitchen with WorkWell, is brought to you by WorkWell and hosted by us. So I want to tell you a little bit about Beautifully Fed Food. Our company, we're a collective of Black and Brown women of the African and Latin American diaspora. There are four of us working together right now. We're trained in culinary arts, nutrition, and food justice. Our mission is to encourage people to celebrate our cultures, honor the wisdom of our bodies, and the traditions of our ancestors through food, one delicious bite at a time, through our plant-forward culinary classes and the food justice education programs we teach. So welcome. We're so glad you're here. I'm gonna, Fiona, tell you a little bit about herself and her role. I should tell you, I'll be the one preparing the dishes with you all today. Today I'm in my friend, our mentor, and our strategic business planner lent us her kitchen since I'm having tech issues in mine. So this is where I am today. Hopefully we'll be in my kitchen next week. Remains to be seen, but I'll be cooking along with you. And Fiona has another role, and she will share that.
So my name is Fiona Adams. I'm also a member of the Beautifully Fed team, and I am here to be Karen's. I'm going to call myself her sous chef and tech assistant for today's session. And I am also a community chef, so I do cooking demonstrations and cooking classes with Beautifully Fed, and I have a particular interest in really working with older adults and caregivers to help them live, their best lives possible. I also am a fitness instructor, and I wear many different hats, but I really just enjoy helping people learn how to stay healthy in a very holistic and well-rounded way. So I am super excited about this class tonight, and chickpeas is one of my favorite things to eat, so I cannot wait to get started.
Woohoo! Me too. And WorkWell is in the building. Afia, why don't you tell them a little bit about this program and how it came to be?
Thank you all for attending. We're anxiously awaiting getting started, actually preparing the food, but thank you all for being in attendance. I'm hopeful that you all know about WorkWell NYC, the City of New York's employee wellness program, and we are in partnership with Beautifully Fed to bring this program. Look out for other opportunities within WorkWell in the digital communications that have been sent to include other areas of programming in addition to healthy food programming, our physical activity, mental health and well-being, and other opportunities. So this is one of many of these events each Wednesday, and we look forward to having you on the line in future sessions.
Wonderful. So let's get cooking. What we're making today is chickpeas, curried chickpeas, with a wrap. It says spinach wrap, but I actually only have the baby spinach that I have for this dish. Can you see? Let me put here. And so I actually have tortillas. So that's going to be my sub and my substitution. And I'm going to ask you the question, but everybody's on mute, so you will respond via chat, please, for the purpose of this class. So I want to know who's cooking along with us. Let us know if you're cooking. And if you are cooking, I'm going to walk through the ingredients once more now that I think most of us are here. Let us know if you are swapping in anything. And if you've got questions about what to swap in, let us know that, although the recipe is in the chat now. And you can see a list of possible substitutions. So refer to the list, and if you still have questions, write it in the chat, and we will guide you along then, okay? So for this dish, we have coconut oil, onion. I've already diced up some. I'm gonna dice up the other half now. We have scallions, garlic, 2 carrots, some cilantro, spinach, 2 cans of chickpeas. And then for our spices, we've got curry powder, turmeric, cinnamon, although I've got cinnamon stick that I'm going to use instead of that cinnamon powder, but the powder is just as well. We also have what's not on the recipe, but I like to use red pepper flakes, so like a little heat, and salt and pepper. is also what's on order. So please gather your ingredients. We also have the last two are apple cider vinegar, voila, and coconut milk. We're gonna chop our onion. So I had a whole onion here, and what I did, it was held like so, and then I chopped it in half lengthwise, vertically. And the reason is because I want to keep the root intact. This is the part, the dirty part that has little hairs that stick out. You want to keep that intact. So typically I don't even chop that part off. You just chop off the other end. And the reason why, you'll see in a moment, we're going to make cuts vertically down the lines, kind of following the grooves of the natural grooves in the onion itself. But we're not going to cut through the root, and that root will help to keep the onion together so it doesn't fall apart on you. All right, so let's get to chopping. And we're going to chop this into a medium dice. And so I'm using my finger and a bear claw here. I hope you can see. Can you see? Yeah? Yeah, you can see. All right, beautiful. All right. So in a bear claw, I'm going down, down, down. And I love this dish, particularly on a weather like this. Pro tip, whenever you see vegetables like falling apart on you, just get the parts away that are falling. It's better to be safe than to be sorry. You don't want anything that could potentially slip. So all right, so here we go. We've got the dice. Can you see? And now the root is holding everything intact, even though we've cut vertical slits. So now I'm going to cut horizontally one slice through my onion. Some people cut more than one slice. You could cut 2, maybe even 3 above, but 1 is enough for me for the size that I want. This is a pretty small onion anyway. And then you go down again. And again, this onion is very slippery for whatever reason. Oh no. And then you go down.
I just posted in the chat. I was wondering if any of you use this technique when you're cutting an onion. I actually really appreciate it. It helps to save some time.
Yeah, it's all cutting. Learning how to cut properly in the kitchen is probably one of the most efficient tools I learned in terms of cooking. And it's not only speed up how fast I prep, but also made it so that it wasn't so, I didn't dread it. I actually look forward to cooking because it was less tedious and less time was involved. It's a really good point, Fiona. And Fiona and I have taken knife skills classes together to learn and get more proficient with our knife skills in the kitchen, because we know it really helps you, like I said, not just to save time, but to enjoy the process of cooking even more.
Ellen says that she likes your cutting method.
Again?
Ellen likes your cutting method. Maybe give it a try when you cook after this session, Ellen.
Give it a try. It's a lot. Be safe. You want to make sure to tuck your fingers down. We call it the bear claw method. What you're doing is you're tucking your nails in so that they're not in the equation at all and they're out of the way of the knife. And all they're doing is holding your things in place. So I'm going to add this to my bowl. But I already have some prepped carrots already in here. I'm going to have to cut that again. And now I'm going to cut up the rest of the scallions. After I get the scallions and the carrots cut, Fiona, what am I doing next?
So after your scallions are cut, you are going to put them into a large saute pan.
Yeah.
And combine with oil.
Mm-hmm. You know what I'd love to hear? Right now, it's funny, I often get asked in class, Karen, what do you do to keep the onion from burning you or from crying when you're cutting onions? And I would tell them I would try all the different things that they would say and nothing really worked for me. But what eventually worked was I was just cooking a lot. And over time, your immune system gets stronger and you get less sensitive to the smell and you don't react to it as much. And that had been the case with me, but all of a sudden, I don't know what it is. I'm starting to react again. So now I need to revisit what were some of those old wives' tales about cutting onions. I would love to hear from you all who have tried stuff. What's worked? What has actually worked for you in the past? Not just what you've heard. What's worked? And if you could put it in the chat, maybe I'll try it. The last one that I heard about in a class was to what to do after you've already started crying. It's like open up the freezer door and put your head in it, and the cold like helps it. It helps to stop the burning or whatever. Haven't tried that. In any event, so now I've got my scallion. So this is a stalk of scallion. We want 3 of these. So I already cut the other 2, and we're gonna use the whole part. A lot of people will only use the green or only use the white. It's all delicious, so I use the whole thing. I just cut off the stalk, the end, the root part, and then I cut it.
Yeah, what would you sub? If you're not using a scallion, what would you sub for that?
So a scallion, onions, and garlic are all like your aromatics, what really seasons your food. So other aromatics include like peppers, ginger is a great one. If you have any, you use extra onion, extra garlic if you don't have it. Scallion is also very similar in taste to an onion, or to, what is that other green? Chives. It's similar to chives. So if you have that, and if not, you could use powder. So onion powder, garlic powder, that will give you a similar effect.
What do you think about leeks?
Leeks could be really good. They resemble scallions. It's got a different flavor.
Yeah. But Ellen, you know, as you mentioned in the chat, I think you can leave them out because I agree with Karen that they're very similar to onions. And so maybe if you want to omit them.
Exactly.
That would be okay.
Yeah, anything you don't have, like find a suitable substitute if you can. Leave it out. It's not essential to the dish. You know, you can still make this without it. It's totally fine. All right. So now for our onion and our garlic, and I'll talk to you more about, not more about, because we haven't talked about it yet at all, but the theme every class that we do will have the recipe that we make, and we'll also have a lesson that will accompany it. And today's lesson is about whole foods versus processed foods and what the difference is, and why we promote a whole foods diet. I'd love to hear from you in the chat if you've already been kind of releasing processed foods in your life for whatever reasons. We'd love to hear why that is, or what you know about processed versus whole foods. That would be fantastic. But first I want to get this stuff in the pot to make sure we have time for the cooking, and then we can get to the talking. Do folks have any questions about what they're preparing, and how is their prepping coming along so far? Oh.
Yeah, and I'm curious to know, I mean, Ellen, I love that you're here with us and you're chiming in. Other folks, do you have questions? Ellen, do you have any other questions? I'm curious. I tend to use dry chickpeas when I am preparing any kind of a dish with chickpeas. What about you all? Do you like dry chickpeas? Do you start with chickpeas in the can? How do you do it?
Good question.
Would roasting give the garlic in this dish a better flavor?
Ooh, roasting gives all dishes a better flavor. Yes, please roast your garlic, whatever you can. It's such a simple process. I love roasting garlic. You take a whole head of garlic. You drizzle olive oil over top, the whole head. You don't cut it or anything. And then put it in the oven for like 375 degrees in a dish, a tin, like a baking pan, roasting pan, covered with aluminum foil. The pan is covered in aluminum foil. You don't cover the garlic. You simply put oil on top of it, and you cut off the top, just the top of the head, to give, so that it can get heated, it could get the caramelization, it could do what it needs to do to get those sweet flavors upon roasting. You put that in the oven for what, 35, 40 minutes. to 45 minutes. You check it, and it'll become, you'll know it's ready because it'll become soft and like paste-like. You could just smear it on toast. You could put it in this dish. You could just put it in your mouth. It's amazing. Like, do that. Roast garlic, definitely, always. Just roast garlic. Everybody should be roasting garlic. Freaking amazing. Great idea. Who was that? Who suggested that?
It was suggested by Maria. Asked if that would help to enhance the flavor, and then Ellen, I believe, mentioned that she loves doing that.
I love doing that. Tell us what
clear, Ellen said roasted garlic is so bomb. So let me
Ellen. It really, y'all, seriously, try that. Ellen and Maria, what have you put your roasted garlic on? Like I said, you could just put it in your mouth and that would be enough. But I'd love to hear, what do you do with your roasted garlic? Okay.
Let's see, what other substitutions? Let me go back through the chat here.
Yeah, let us know how folks are coming along with their prepping. Ellen is cooking. Maria, are you cooking? Who are the people who are cooking along? I want to hear from them too.
What other bean can you substitute for this dish? I bet I know what you're going to say, but I want to hear what you have to say, Karen.
Yeah? Okay. I love, my favorite white bean next to garbanzo beans or chickpeas are cannellini beans. That's what I was gonna say. They're white beans. They're so like tender and soft and velvety in texture when you cook them. I put them in everything. But any white bean will do. Butter beans will be really great here too. Navy beans, any white bean will serve your purpose. It'll be fine. If folks are cooking with beans, just add a bean. It'll soak up all the flavors that we're doing. It doesn't even matter. So what you saw me do, I took off the skin. Actually, we're gonna use the skin because this is the organic carrot. And so with organic carrots, I don't mind using the skin. There's a lot of nutrients in the skin of all of our veggies. The thing though to be worried about is that the skin also is what soaks up a lot of the toxins in our environment when it's grown inorganically, when it's grown with pesticides. So you want to be sure when you are looking for ingredients that you know you're going to use the skin, you know you're going to zest the fruit of your lemon or your orange or whatever, you're going to zest it and use that skin. You want to look for an organic product, because those organic products are not grown with pesticides. There will be no pesticide in your carrot, for instance. So this is pesticide free. I'm using the skin, but I'm going to cut, but I was doing this with my Y peeler because I actually love these strings. I love the way that it looks. So I'm going to add that to the end of my dish as a garnish. It's not in the recipe. Forgive me. Part of why I love cooking so much more than baking, I'm not a baker at all, is because you really get to like play with your food and enjoy and see what you like and experiment and add to a recipe, even a recipe that you made yourself. You get to kind of play and go off the beaten path. So I'm gonna do what I said I was gonna do. I'm gonna dice it. I'm also gonna reserve this to the very end as a garnish.
Great. I'm just going to get a couple people caught up to where we are. So far you've cut up the onions. You're now getting the carrots ready. You've done the clove. You've cut up the stalks of scallion. Yep. So next, so basically you've prepped all of the ingredients that needed. Actually, cilantro. Are you going to get to the cilantro to chop that next?
No, I'll do that once everything is in the pot.
Okay.
Once we get our garlic and our carrots and onions in the pot, then I'll deal with the cilantro.
Great. So that's what we've done so far. We've prepared our onions, carrots, garlics, scallions, and I believe we're going to the pot next.
Yeah, we are. Okay. So to the pot, we're adding how many tablespoons? I'm judging it. I've got a big pot here. So I'm just about 2 tablespoons, 2 to 3, depending on the size of your pot. gonna get it in there. Make sure it covers the bottom, swirl it around, and then fire. It's always a good thing. All right, so you want this to get hot. And then we'll add our things. I'm supposed to add the onion, the garlic, and the carrots, right?
Correct.
Not the scallions yet.
Combine the onions and the garlic. In a large saute pan over medium heat, combine the oil, onions, and carrots.
Beautiful. Blah, blah, blah. You want to wait for your oil to get hot. Mine is not. And you'll know it's hot when you put in you can test it by just putting one in, and you can see bubbles form around it.
And so I'm Karen, I'm going to try to keep people up with you as you're going. So someone is asking about whether we should put the produce in the saute pan. And so yes, that's where we are now. We're adding the onions and the carrots to the pan. And Karen is mentioning that it's important to wait until the oil is at the right temperature.
You want to hear the sizzle. So I'm going to wait. I should have had the oil go in a little bit. Are there questions? Where are folks at with their cooking process? Can we see anybody? Folks who are cooking, we'd love to see you on camera if possible.
Yeah, scrolling through, I'm not seeing anyone who's actually cooking.
Put your cameras on, please, so we can see how we can guide you along. It helps us.
I think Elizabeth might be cooking. Yeah, I see you. Great.
Yay. How's it going, Elizabeth? Where are you in the process? And what about Ellen? Ellen has her apron on. Ellen, you're cooking. Talk to us.
Yeah, Ellen's sizzling.
Huh?
She said, I'm sizzling, baby.
Sizzling. What about Elizabeth? You're on mute. We can't hear you. What are you saying? I can't hear Elizabeth. Can you?
No, volume is pretty low.
Elizabeth, try to speak now. No. No audio. Oh, so stop. Write it in the chat if you can.
I know some people may not want to chat while they're cooking, but
I know. It's, that's frustrating. We'll figure this thing out together, y'all.
Eva, thank you for mentioning. We've been calling you Ellen all night. So
Wait, who's that?
So Ellen, she says her name is actually wrong in the chat. Her name is Ava.
Why does it say Ellen Saltzman? That's somebody else's thing? Can we let's rename Ellen Saltzman to whatever is her actual name, please. Stop calling her Ellen. That's pretty funny.
I got you. I got
you. You could be Ellen Saltzman. Oh no, we could call you by your actual name too. So I've got the onions in here. Can y'all see? The pot. Oh, I see why you didn't know that I was in the pot. You can see it. Now, you hear me sizzling? It's sizzling. I can't hear it sizzling. Trust me, and it's fragrant. You can smell the onions. You can smell the garlic in there. Oh, this is so good. This is good for my soul. To be actually like in the process of cooking is so important for my self-care, especially right now, you all. I don't know how you folks are feeling, but it's a really hard time in the world right now with everything going on. And I find that when I'm stressed out, I tend to not want to necessarily cook and not want to be good for myself. But I find at times like this is especially when we need to go inwards and do what feels right, do what feels necessary. And I love the fact that I have this class that I need to cook for you all because it teaches me to do what's good for me, what I need to do, and I wouldn't necessarily to do because you know when times are really difficult and trying like this, it can make you, you know, wonder why bother. And so, but I know when I'm in the kitchen, when I'm doing this, like there's something that happens. It changes my whole mood. It changes my whole perspective. It gives me hope. And so I hope that find whoever that is for you to cook for. It might be yourself. It might be, you know, somebody who's not with you in the home, but somebody, you know, who you can get on a Zoom call with or just on the phone with and say, hey, I'm making this dish. It makes me think of you. And talk with them about it. It will really change your whole perspective, even if it's just for the hour that you're cooking, you know, and it makes a difference. So I encourage you all to do that and to share. I found another piece of garlic, so I want to put that in there. All right, am I supposed to put spices in here yet? What's happening?
Let me just respond to, there isn't a name, but Samsung is asking about whether it's time to put the produce into the hot oil. Yes, please do go ahead.
Yes. Oh.
And then after your produce is in, you're adding the garlic, the scallions, the spices. You're going to saute for about 5 minutes.
Okay.
At that point, you can just taste it and adjust it to whatever flavor you prefer. You know, we always talk about the fact that a recipe is a guide. You know, it's a starting point for your meal, but then you always have to enhance the flavors as you do for your own taste.
Exactly.
Yes, spices going now. Once you have the produce chopped and in the oil and you've given them a little bit of a chance to become fragrant for about 5 to 7 minutes, then you add your garlic, your scallion, and your spices.
Yeah.
And you saute.
They're all going in here.
Karen, I was asking why you need to use a wooden spoon.
I use a wooden spoon for a number of reasons. One is I really like good pots. I invest in the best quality pot I can afford. And they're usually like either enamel cast iron or like this gorgeous one is my friend's. I don't know what it is, but it's gorgeous. But the thing with these pots is if you use metal on it, it can scratch it and damage the pot itself. But then also if it has enamel on it or whatever it's, you know, whatever it's made out of, that material can get into your food and has toxins and you don't want to ingest those. So wood materials, it's also, wood is typically carved out of just one piece. And so it's not likely to break apart on you. I mean, it will dull over time. You may need to replace the whole thing, but there aren't fragments that will disappear into your food like a plastic utensils will do. They'll also erode and get into your food and cause toxins to be in your body. So that's why I use wooden spoon. It's better for your dishes and the pots that you're cooking in, and it's also better for your health. So ta-da! I like wooden. So do that. Plastic will be great. Good question. Any other questions in the chat?
You know, someone mentioned earlier in the chat that she's having trouble finding cilantro. So again, substitutions.
Ooh, you know, I've had, what herbs do you have? Ask her first, what herbs does she have at home? And then I tell you, one of my favorite herbs to use with curry, besides thyme, which is what I grew up putting in curry, fresh thyme or dry thyme works well too, is, why can't this is rosemary. I love rosemary and curry. It goes so well together. Oh, I know why. I don't think the thing is off. Yeah, we might not be doing this. This is the...
Someone just mentioned something that I did recently as well. So, Ellen, is this the real Ellen or is this the Ava? So, Ellen mentioned that she recently washed cilantro in ice cube trays. I did that as well, and I
Yes!
so much. Has anyone else done it? So I did it with basil and olive oil. I also did some mint with water and lemon that I just pop in drinks if I have them. That's one of my favorite things to do now.
Yeah, oh my God, that's my favorite thing to do. That's brilliant. You can preserve all kinds of herbs that way, where you chop them up the fresh herbs. You chop up your fresh herbs, you chop them up, and then add them to ice cube trays a little bit at a time with either water or with olive oil. Boom, and you're done. And anytime you want that herb, you just take it out, you defrost it if you have it in water, you simply add it to your hot pan if you have it in oil, and now you've got an herb infused oil. Brilliant. If you want to take it to the next level, a green seasoning. Like we the last time I prepared a dish like this curry chickpeas. Everybody, I'm having trouble hearing myself. Last time we prepared a chickpea dish or something similar, we made it with what we call.
Hold on, Karen.
Okay.
Go ahead. I just muted everyone.
Got it. Thank you, babe. We made it with what's called a green seasoning. So a green seasoning is very popular in Caribbean countries where they make, I see Ava's nodding, where we blend up the herbs the fresh herbs that we have in the house, and we add oil to it. We add onions and pepper and garlic, and then we blend that and we put that in a jar in the fridge, and it lives there, and we add it to all the things that we're cooking that week. I made my own version. My family's from Jamaica. My mom was born in Jamaica. My dad was born in Cuba. And either of them did a green seasoning, but they would buy like other people's green seasonings from time to time. But I love the idea of I like sauces anyway. I love the idea of having something in my fridge that I can use as a flavor booster. It's kind of like making your own bouillon, right? Where you don't have to get the store-bought bouillon cubes, but you have your own fresh thing. So we made it. And the similar thing to the herbs in oil in ice cube trays, we blended up the green seasoning. I put cilantro and sharon beni in mine, which is culantro, and I think I added some vinegar as well as peppers and onions and garlic and scallions, and then blended it down, put it in the freezer in little cube trays, and I still have them. I did this like 3 weeks ago. I still have ice cubes, little green seasonings that I can then add to my dishes, whatever I'm making. So good. You can make it into a little sauce. So my email address is karen@beautifullyfed.com. Fiona can put it into the chat. If you ever want that recipe or a link to the video on how to make your own green seasoning, let me know. We can get that to you. Super easy. We encourage it. It can just revolutionize the way that you cook because it saves so much time. So all right, after I've got my spices and things, what now?
So after you add your spices, I think it's time to add the chickpeas. And
yay! All right. Yeah. So I'm gonna add the chickpeas in a minute. And before I add it, I'm gonna talk to the point that you were mentioning before, Fiona, about canned peas or dried peas, because that brings us to the lesson about whole foods. Has anybody responded to my question about going whole foods from processed foods?
So one person mentioned that processed foods have a lot of salt.
Processed foods have a lot of salt. They also can have a lot of sugar in them too. Yeah, and so the difference between whole foods and processed foods. So all the foods that we've used here today so far, all the produce in here, these are all fresh, whole foods, right? They didn't have an ingredient label. They didn't come in a packaged bag. They're just, it's just, the carrot is the carrot. The scallion is the scallion. The onion is the onion. No, nothing else with it. Whereas processed foods, so take chickpeas, for instance. So chickpeas, dried chickpeas are the most pure of that chickpeas. Like you can get them, you pick them up. I don't know how they grow. I don't know anything about chickpeas, but I know that the most pure form that I can get it in is dried. And then I bring it home and I got to go through a process, which isn't as time consuming as I thought, to prep it before you can cook it. So Fiona cooks with dried peas. I'm just now learning to. During COVID, that's something I've taken on, and it's actually really tasty. Dried peas are tastier than canned peas. I didn't know that was true. They are. I've got canned peas here today. That's okay. Canned peas is the next level down. So so we've got straight from the ground. Let's go ground up. Straight from the ground is whole foods. Then the next level, minimally processed foods, are your canned or your frozen foods, like the canned chickpeas. And then after that, you've got your highly processed foods. So I'm putting my spinach over here because I'm going to add the chickpeas to the pan. You don't want to add your spinach yet because the spinach can be eaten just like this, and I want it to have that fresh vibrancy and maybe even a little bit of that crunch at the end. So I'm putting in my canned but drained chickpeas now. And then after that, so next level up, minimally processed are your canned and frozen vegetables and fruits. Then about that, your highly processed things would be a chickpea, like a chickpea chip, a chickpea corn chip or something, you know, package thing that you eat. That would be highly processed. It's very removed from its original form. And I can give you something that may be easier for you to see, a corn. The corn from the ground, whole, that's it, that's all there is. Then you've got the corn in the can, or your frozen corn. Then you've got the corn, corn tortilla chips, right? Then you've got corn fructose corn syrup. We're looking at it, it doesn't even look like corn. Like, where's the corn in this corn fructose corn syrup? Highly processed. So the more processed, the more removed you are from the whole ingredient, and the more additives and chemicals and impurities are added to it to make it taste good or to serve whatever purpose the product is, and the less nutritional value it can bring you. So we recommend, you know, start from the ground up and do the best that you can to avoid those highly processed foods, and recognize that the minimally processed and the whole foods can taste delicious too, because our work is not simply about giving you a piece of kale and some quinoa and saying eat this because it's good for you. No, that's not good enough. We want you to enjoy it too. We know food is as much about socialization and comfort and joy as it is about nutrition. And so we want to encourage folks to see how we can go back to eating the foods that were always good for us, these whole fruits and vegetables, and make it and enjoy it, and not rely so much on the highly processed stuff. So that's what it's all about. If there are questions, put it in the chat. And speaking of the sugar that's in the sugar and the salt that's in your processed foods, it's so true, you all. That's why one of the biggest tenets of our work, the thing that we're always pushing us to do, is reading the ingredient labels. That's why it's so much easier to buy the fresh fruits, because there are no ingredient labels. You ain't got to worry about that. But when you are buying packaged goods, it's really important. You want to get used to reading the labels. And when I say read the labels, yes, read the nutrition facts. We can give classes on how to like decipher the nutrition facts, the calories, the fat, all that. But more important than all of that, really, is the actual ingredients. What's in this thing? That's what you want to look at, and you want to be sure that it's things that you recognize, that you know all of the stuff. So what's in here? This is my curry powder, and all that's in here is turmeric, salt, cayenne pepper, coriander, some fenugreek, which is a spice, cumin, allspice, and garlic. All those things are things that I know. Not the only preservative in here is salt. Salt is a natural preservative. That's what you're looking for. When you see things like in your canned products, that's what we were talking about. We're talking about canned products. In your canned products, in vegetables particularly, you want to look to make sure that that it's a minimal amount of salt added, if any at all. Try to find cans, like my canned beans had no salt added. Look for that. When you're buying the fruit, you want to buy your fruit in without any syrup added, no corn syrup, only in the fruit juice. Only the juice of the fruit that you're buying should be the only thing in the container other than the fruit itself. So become really concerned about the items that you're buying to put in your pantry and what are the ingredients on the label. That's the best thing for your health and for the quality of the things that you deserve to have only the very best, right?
So everyone who's cooking with us, I know that someone has kind of jumped ahead and you're doing your dip, and that's amazing. So for those of you who are still following along with us, Karen has added the chickpeas and she's adding some more. Karen, have you, let's see, where you're adding the spice now? Is that some?
The spice is already there. The spice and the chickpeas are there. I think it's time for me to add my vinegar and the coconut milk.
Oh Oh yeah, I was looking at what you have in your hand. I thought that was cinnamon. So you're adding the raisins, apple cider vinegar, coconut milk, the herbs, and spinach.
Yeah, I'm just taking the cinnamon stick out while I have it. So I know that's gonna go in with the coconut milk. All right, so how much of the apple cider vinegar do I need?
For the apple cider vinegar, you need half a teaspoon.
Easy. Okay. I'm gonna turn my fire down because I can hear it sizzle. Yum, it smells so good. Folks who are cooking, do you smell it? Is it smelling up your house? Half a teaspoon?
Half a teaspoon of apple cider vinegar. So Ava mentioned something really interesting. She says that she uses canned chickpeas and then she'll use the water to make an egg wash to give a shine to pies, or if she makes eggplant parm, and she uses it for mayonnaise and meringue. So Ava, it sounds like you are cooking it up in the kitchen.
Oh, with your chickpea juice.
Yeah.
I've heard of that. It's is it called fava? Is that what they call it, Ava? When folks use the water from the chickpeas. You want to go off mute and tell us more about that? We'd love to hear it. And I need a quarter cup of this, right?
I don't know if you need a third cup.
A third? Ah, okay, I see you. So I use a measuring, this is what we call a liquid measure. That's different from these, which are your dry measure. These are good when you're measuring dry ingredients, your powder, your flour, your sugar, those sorts of things. Even chickpeas, I use that dry measure. For anything liquid, you want to use this. There is a slight difference that's not as noticeable in cooking, but really noticeable when you're baking. So, but it's just good to get in the habit of using the right measurement tool for the right thing.
Yeah, Maria mentions that she's so glad that you're using apple cider vinegar because she uses that in most of her dishes to enhance the flavor.
Yeah, it's so good. And any vinegar and any acid is really good to enhance flavors. We believe in really balancing the flavors of your dish. And so you'll see me even tasting as I go when I'm making this. And oftentimes people are, all right, always ask, what are you tasting for? I'm tasting for that moment that makes me dance. I'm tasting for the flavors to coalesce to a point where I'm like, yes, that, I want that. And I can't really name it, but I know it when I experience it. But I do know what are the elements it contains. So oftentimes I'm tasting a dish, and if the flavors aren't popping to me, if something is missing, salt will be the first thing I think about. But before I add the salt, I will add vinegar or an acid, because an acid also will lift up a flavor in a similar fashion to salt. And a lot of us are trying to minimize the amount of salt in our diet. It's a good idea. So I start with the acid first. I add acid. Then if the acid doesn't do it, then I'll taste it to see, is it missing something smoky, a heat element, a spicy thing? Then I'll add that. Is it missing a sweet element? Do I want it to be a little savory and sweet? Can I add some maple syrup or some honey? Is it missing an herbaceous flavor? Should I add something like cumin or a herb like cilantro or rosemary or whatever? And I'll add those things. And if still it's missing, I'll add salt. And that usually brings it all together for me. So it's sweetness, it's pepper, fire, it's your acid, and it's salt. And those things for me is what does it. There's also, in terms of flavor, there's you'll also want to have a balance of flavors where you have your sweet, you have your salty, you have your bitter, something that's a little bitter in the background. I get that from the spices like the cumin, the curry. And then there's a flavor called umami, which is that, can't really describe it, but there's something in it that makes you go, I like that. Like mushrooms have an umami flavor. Soy has an umami flavor. Worcestershire sauce has that. And so these are the things that you're looking to add when you're tasting a dish and you like it, but it's not making you dance. It's not doing it for you. You start playing around. You add to it. So I'm going to taste this. I'm going to add my cinnamon stick too. Somewhere here.
Karen, what does umami mean?
Does mommy have a meaning precisely? It's
Someone is asking if it means delicious in Japanese, because it's a flavor.
a flavor. I don't know what the meaning is. Can you look it up? I'm curious now. I feel like I should know that. We should know that. Thank you for asking.
And so there's also a question, and maybe some other folks can chime in. Did you rinse your canned chickpeas? And I'm wondering, do others rinse their chickpeas before using them?
I did, and I thank you so much for asking. Who asked that? That's a brilliant question. Because that's one of the key things that I do, particularly in canned ingredients, canned vegetables, because they often will add salt to canned vegetables to preserve it. And so even when it says no salt added, there's salt in there, quite likely. And so I rinse it as a way also to reduce the amount of salt in the canned chickpeas. So if you rinse it well, rinse it twice, you are likely to reduce the salt in those chickpeas by 70% or more. So I highly encourage you all to rinse your canned veggies for sure. So look, I added, it called for a 1/4 cup. I think we're gonna increase that recipe, Fiona, to like, I said our 1/3 cup. Actually, it should be 1/2 cup because I want there to be sauce. I'm all about the sauce, people. I like it to be like a wet situation. If you like it dry, do the 1/4 cup. It's fine. And I probably did the 1/4 cup because I knew I wanted to add this to like a chickpea wrap or tortillas, and I didn't want it to become soggy. But I do like the flavor of the sauce. So I added that, and I added my cinnamon stick to it. What else happens at this point? I'm supposed to taste it. That's what happens.
So have you added the raisins?
Not yet.
Raisins in there. So okay.
I need to do that too. Yay.
So we can add a little more coconut milk to get some more sauce. Yes, that's.
You can add coconut milk, or what I ended up doing, I have the raisins in here now. What I ended up doing is I had some residual coconut milk in my measuring cup, and so I just added some water to that and swirled it around and then added that to this. But yeah, you could also add, I want more raisins in here. I had more raisins in my dish, but I was getting hungry as I was waiting for you all to get on the line, and I ate them. That happens sometimes.
So we're going to be adding our spinach.
Not yet. We want to taste it first and see when we're ready. We want to add the spinach just before it's ready to serve. So,
Okay.
so this is how we do tasting, y'all. I take this pot, it's beautiful, and it gets really hot, so I don't want to burn myself. So I take the spoon that I'm cooking with, and then I try not to do that. And then I take, what am I doing? Then I take the spoon that I want to eat with, and I put one to the other. And this helps me to avoid having to wash 1,000,001 spoons, because now this becomes the spoon that I eat from.
So just so you know, Ava's hubby tasted it and he also approves. So thumbs up.
His husband approved, y'all. I didn't add any salt to this yet. So that's what's missing for me. I'm gonna add some salt right now.
Is anybody else cooking with us? Have you tasted? What are you thinking? Do you need more salt? Do you want to add any other flavors to your dish? Add the spinach. There was a question about wilting the spinach, and yes, that is the next step. After we taste, and the spinach will be added and wilted. But let us know if you're cooking with us. How is it? How do you like it? Let's see, where was our other friend who was cooking?
Who is it? Who's the one who has her apron on? That's Ava. Ava changed her name. Hey, Ava, not Ellen. Hey, Ava, not Ellen. And you're the one whose husband tried it, right?
Ava, yeah. And
Yeah.
so we left out the scallions and cilantro, but it was still delicious. Flavors came out nicely. It needs something, but I don't know what yet. Great. Let us know what you end up adding, because everyone's palate is so different. And so it's good to know, you know, what you think makes the flavor hot for you.
Depends on what you like, whether you like it to be more spicy. I like it to be more spicy. I'm going to add some more red pepper flakes. A little bit more apple cider vinegar because it doesn't quite have that tang for me.
Yeah, so this is again going back to what I was mentioning earlier, that the recipe is a starting point. And then from there, once you taste, then you can tweak. to
It's
meet
sweet, it's sweet.
your-
Yeah, that feels right. I'm gonna taste it once more, and that should do it. And then I'm gonna add my spinach, and then we're good to go.
Yeah, and then someone added even more coconut milk to have a sauce to have it with rice, which sounds so good.
Yes, have this over rice.
So y'all, I didn't have a chance to eat before this, and this is making me so hungry. So good. I could just smell those flavors coming through.
Oh, good. I'm gonna add my cilantro. That was for you, Fiona. And the spinach. Here goes the spinach.
So now we're adding spinach to wilt.
Yep. And while that's here, I'm going to cut up my cilantro. And everything has been washed and prepped ahead of time. So these are my baby spinach leaves. I love the way that they look. And here, with my orange carrots. I had white carrots in the fridge, and I was gonna use those, but I remembered what I wanted the dish to look like, and I wanted to be able to see those orange pieces come out with the green and the white from the garbanzo beans. And so I said, no, I'm gonna get myself some orange carrots, and I'm so glad I did. See how it really pops. So I'm clearing out my space, and I'm cutting out the cilantro. And how much cilantro does it say to use?
A quarter cup cilantro.
Yeah, I don't always measure my herbs. I just take a couple of bunches like that. I think that should do it. And again, I use the whole stalk. I cut off the ends. Anything that looks dirty, we don't want that in the food. But everything else, we're just gonna give it a rough chop. And I'll take some out. I'll put some in the dish, like a lot of this will go in the pot, but then I'm also gonna reserve some to put on top for a garnish for after. It's all about the garnish.
So Karen, do we want folks to send in photos of?
Yes, we do, and show us even on camera now. If their dish is done, we want to see it. Put your camera on and show us your dish if you have it. If you're still in cooking mode, please take my email address down and send it to us afterwards. We would love to see it.
Sandra's already eating, and she says it's delicious.
Can we see her? Ava's showing us her dish. Oh my God, that looks gorgeous. Look, yes, yours. I see you, Ava. She reserved her cilantro for the end and put it on top too.
So I would love to spotlight Ava, if that's okay.
Yeah, please.
Great. So
The spinach is throughout. I see your carrots in there. I see why your husband approves. You did it, honey.
does anyone else have a dish that you can share? Sandra, we missed it. You're already eating.
Show us you eating. I want to see that. Show us you enjoying the food. That counts.
Thank you. This smells so amazing. Oh my goodness.
Oh my God, thanks so much, Ava. I'm so glad you cooked with us.
Nice. I'll go back to Karen.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, we can stop spotlighting Ava. That was a great idea, Fiona. Thanks for doing that so we can all see. So I'm plating my dish right now. And I'm gonna put a little bit of my on top. And I forgot to reserve some cilantro. Too busy talking and looking at Ava's dish, which was gorgeous. So now, look at that.
Everyone, please also share your pics. I'm posting the handle right now, the Instagram handle, but it's at WorkWell NYC on Instagram. We would love for you to share your pics there as well, especially your beautiful dish, Ava.
Yeah. And voila, that's mine, you all. The end. We did it, we did it, we did it, we did it, we did it. Nice. Thanks, Teresa. This was so much fun. Thanks everybody for cooking with us.
I did post the beautifully fed information above Karen's email address, but I will repost it again now. And then don't forget to share your pics at WorkWell NYC on Instagram.
As well. Beautiful. It's also in the chat. Ooh, somebody's gonna toast the tortilla and do it that way. Yes. Great idea. I have mine. You can do this toasted. You could put it in the skillet. This tortilla in a plain skillet without any oil added. You can do that, or you could just do it like this as a wrap, like the dish said. And I'm gonna do that right now too. Watch me for folks who wanna see. And all we do is we take a little bit, we put it in the middle. So brilliant. Thanks for reminding me that this was called a wrap for a reason. I tend to get distracted as I'm cooking. Talking to all of you lovely people. So
Those who didn't cook with us today, we hope that next time you'll be able to cook along with us.
yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh, you know what'd be really good with, so I have the wrap, can you all see? I've got the wrap, so I take my sides and I go like this, and I'm going very slowly because I want to make sure everything stays in. And I go like that, and voila. And then you go like this. And then you've got tortilla. Curry wrap tortilla. Easy, easy, easy.
Ava, we will be hosting the entire series, so we'll be looking for you next time. Oh,
And who else is coming back next week? And the week after that, and the week after that. All right, we hope me, yay. Yay, Ava. Fantastic. We look forward to seeing you all again. And thank you for being here. Yay, this is fun. It was our first class, y'all. We did it. Woo-hoo. Take everybody off mute. I want to hear everybody say hey and bye.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you, Karen.
This was awesome.